For a Neapolitan style pizza, you need 4 ingredients: flour, water, salt, and fresh yeast. When you buy flour, the best flour you can get is Tipo 00. This is a very fine milled flour and has a high protein content. If you cannot find Tipo 00, you should go for regular bread flour. With this flour, you will need to use a little less water, but it will still make a damn good pizza. Always use cold water. In many dough recipes, they will recommend you to use warm water. This is to boost the rising of the dough in a very fast time. But when you're making pizza, you want a slow rise. This is to create the most airy and delicious crust you've ever tasted. According to the Neapolitan standard, you should always use fresh yeast. But if you cannot find fresh yeast, it's okay. You can use the dry one, just make sure you only use half of the amount that you would usually use with the fresh yeast. This is because the dry yeast is much more potent than the fresh variation. In a Neapolitan dough recipe goes quite a bit of salt. The most important reason is taste, but it will also help create a strong gluten network, and it kills all the bad bacteria during the rising and the ripening of the dough. When you buy salt, make sure to get sea salt. This is antibacterial and doesn't have all the bad additives in it. Great! We have all our ingredients and we're ready to start. So now I could give you a standard recipe for, let's say, 3 people or 4 people. But what if you give a pizza party for 5 people or 7 or maybe even 20? Then you need to customize your recipe. So that's why it's best to work with percentages. So for a traditional Neapolitan style pizza, you need 100% flour, 65% water, 3% sea salt and 0.2% yeast. But whoa, Peter, you said it was gonna be easy. That's right, that's why I made a pizza dough calculator just for you. Choose the type of pizza you like. In this case we go for Neapolitan. The amount of pizzas, the weight of the dough ball. For a medium pizza this is about 220 grams. The amount of water, if you're using Tipo 00, leave it at 65%. When you're baking with bread flour, instead of Tipo 00, you should go for a lower amount of water, so between 55 and 60%. Now press calculate and kaboom, there it is, your own custom pizza recipe. We got our ingredients and we got our custom recipe, so let's get started. Get an empty bowl. Add your calculated amount of water into the bowl. Get your salt and add it to the water. Stir it until it's completely dissolved. Now you get your yeast and you drop it into the bowl. But wait, yeast doesn't like salty water. The salt will damage the yeast, preventing the dough from rising. So we need to make a buffer between the salt and the yeast. The way we do that is that we take 10% of our flour, we put it into our water, we stir it in until it's completely dissolved, and that will be our buffer. So now we're ready to add our yeast. So now we're gonna add the remaining flour into our bowl and loosely mix it in with our fingertips or with a spoon. In this stage, the dough will feel very dry and flaky. Don't worry, just keep on stirring. After mixing everything together, we can start the kneading. The first kneading we do inside of the bowl, and after a few minutes you will already see that the dough is coming together and the consistency is getting more sticky and wet. Don't worry, just keep on kneading. Now it's time to take it out. Put a little bit of flour on our tabletop and start kneading the dough for about 10 to 20 minutes. In this process, the dough will get all its strength, the gluten network will be developed, and the dough will be ready for its next stage. After about 10 to 20 minutes of kneading, you can shape your dough into a ball. Make sure to check out my tutorial on how to make dough balls. Okay, we have our dough ball and we want to put it into our bowl. So before you do that, get a little bit of olive oil. Put it into the bowl, get a brush and brush it out. So when the bowl has a thin layer of oil, you can put in the bowl and now also give your dough ball a thin layer of oil. This will prevent it from drying out later on. Cover the bowl with cling film or a damp towel and let it rest for about 2 hours. After 2 hours have passed, you can portion the dough into balls. check out my tutorial on how to make dough balls. So when you're done portioning the pizza balls, you can place them on a baking tray covered with a little bit of oil or flour. When all dough balls are in the baking tray, cover the baking tray with cling film. Now put the tray away for about 4 to 6 hours at room temperature. We're 6 hours later and our dough has risen. Now we're ready to make some pizzas. This is the most basic way to make a Neapolitan pizza, but you can also make next level pizzas. Check out my tutorial on ripening and rising of the dough to see how you can do that. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Peace!